Hey people, hope you guys doing great. In today's video we will see, what if Naruto was in Total Drama event and got Harem, Part 1. Huge shout out to for QB16, this story. If you end up liking this video please consider subscribe, and like the video, so let's start the story. A camera turns on and the scene of a dock comes into view with a mountain in the background. A young male with gelled black hair and camp counselor-like gear enters the camera fray. Yo, we're coming at you live from Camp Wawanika somewhere in Mataska, Ontario. I'm one of your hosts, Chris McLean. Dropping season 1 of the hottest new reality show on television at this very moment. Here's the deal, 23 campers signed up to spend 8 weeks here at the old summer camp. They'll compete in challenges against each other and then have to face the judgment of their fellow camper. Every 3 days one team will either win a reward or watch one of their team members walk down the dock of shame to the loser boat and leave Total Drama Island for good. Chris walks over to campfire pit as he continued his speech. And here their fate will be decided at a dramatic campfire ceremony where each week all but one camper will receive a marshmallow. Chris picks up marshmallows on stick. In the end only one will be left standing and will be rewarded with cheesy tabloid fame, holds up magazines with his face on the cover, and a small fortune, holds up a treasure chest. Let's face it, they'll probably blow it in a week. To survive they'll have to battle flies, grizzly bears, disgusting camp food, and each other. Every moment will be caught on one of the hundreds of cameras situated all over the camp. Who will crumble under the pressure? Find out here, at this moment on Total Drama Island. At the end of his statement Total Drama Island theme intro plays as a result of his cue. Welcome back to Total Drama Island. Alright, it's time to meet our first 12 campers. We told them they'd all be staying at this 5-star resort, so, if they seem a little pissed off that's probably why. The sound of a motorboat was soon heard. The first of the contestants to arrive was Beth. She was slightly on the pudgy side with chestnut brown hair done in a high ponytail. She wore an oversized, green and gold shirt festooned with a variety of pin-on buttons, and pale pink slacks. Emphasizing Beth's nerdiness were her Coke bottle glasses and railroad track braces, her family apparently being unable to afford modern orthodontia. Beth, what's up? Chris greeted the perky girl. It's so encourageless to meet you. Wow. You look shorter in actual life. Beth's manners were just as awkward as her body. Thanks. Chris dryly remarked as the girl's barb immediately annoyed him. He really hated it when people pointed out his height. The next person to show up was DJ, a person people would describe as a giant, wearing a white cap, brown shirt with the letter D on it, black/gray shorts on, and dark brown sandals. Without any second thoughts anyone would think he was into sports or at least worked out. DJ. Chris greeted the second of the contestants. Yo. Chris McLean. How's it going? Hey, you sure you got the right place here? Where's the hot tub at? He asked as he looked around. He read somewhere in that contract something about a hot tub. Yo, dog. This is it. Camp Wawanakwa. Chris redirected the topic and pointed out to the direction of where the campsite was. Looked a lot different on the application form. Yes, it did, the host replied unhelpfully. Whatever, the gentle giant said, shrugging his shoulders as he continued down the dock. The next camper was a young woman, very pretty and gothic in style. Her short hair was dyed pitch black and highlighted in teal, although her highlights tended to look green on camera. Her dark, cool colors outfit consisted of a sleeved corset top that arranged her above-average size chest to its best advantage, a short skirt with a patchwork look hat did little to no work to cover up her luscious legs, forest green hose, and black, knee-high platform boots. Her pasty complexion was not the artificial, chalky white of a hardcore goth, but the natural pallor of fair skin that rarely feels the sun. Unlike Beth and DJ, she carried no luggage. The contestants had been given that option, for some had brought more than they could carry in a single trip, and anything they didn't bring off the boat in their disembarking shots would be offloaded later. Hey, Gwen. He greeted her with a grin. You mean we're staying here? She asked, wondering if the trailer would be big enough to fit a handful of people let alone all the contestants. No, you're staying here, he gestured to the old log cabins. My crib is in Airstream with AC, that way, he said, pointing out said trailer. I did not sign up for this, the girl responded with a scowl. She should have realized things were too good to be true. That this was probably going to be a bad Survivor ripoff with a bunch of stupid challenges and people letting emotions run high for other people's sick and depraved enjoyment. Actually, you did, Chris said, chuckling. Gwen storms up to the applications that was currently in Chris' hands before snatching them, then in a surprisingly amount of good strength ripped them all in half. Chris just chuckled again, expecting this. Good thing about lawyers is they make a lot of copies, Chris said, smirking, serving to enrage Gwen even more. I am not staying here, she stubbornly argued. Contract or no contract, she was not going to be suckered into months of torment and insanity for other people's enjoyment. Cool. I hope you can swim though, because your ride just left. The boat horn honks as the captain signals that he was heading his way back to the mainland. Asshole, she muttered darkly under her breath. Another boat was coming in with another contestant. They have enough money to piss away on all these boats, but they couldn't give us better lodgings? Unknown to Gwen, despite what the finished footage of the episode would suggest, there weren't 24 separate boats, but the same 2 boats coming and going. The contestants were kept separate to inflate to the viewership their view on how much money was actually being thrown into the series. Careful editing and such like this was to give the best footage and such. The 4th contestant to arrive was a faux cowboy type who had probably never spent a day in the presence of livestock in his life. He wore sandals, jeans, a pink silk button-down shirt, and a 10-gallon hat. His shirt was completely unbuttoned, the better to show off his washboard abs. He wasn't a pretty boy, but a guy with his looks would have no problem attracting the girls. Chris McLean. What's up, man? It's an honor to meet you, man, the pretty boy greeted the host. The Jeffster. Welcome to the island, man. It's great to have you here, man. I'm totally psyched for this contest, man. Jeff and Chris seem to be trying to out-dude bro each other. Hey, thanks, man, Gwen sarcastically remarked at the display. If they say man one more time, I'm gonna puke. The boat once more drove up. Everybody, this is Lindsay, the host introduced as out of the latest boat stepped out a blonde bombshell. She sported a warm colors ensemble consisting of stylized cowboy boots, a short skirt, and a halter top that seemed to strain the objects behind it. Containing her hair was a baby blue bandana while the rest of her hair was straightened out. Her skin was fair and flawless, and her face was made up subtly and skillfully. Not too shabby, Chris remarked. Hi, sorry, what was your name? The attractive girl asked. I'm Chris McLean, the host of the show, he emphasized. Yeah, sorry, I'm not good with names, she replied sheepishly. The next contestant arrived. The boat docked again and a tall, model-thin, drop-dead gorgeous girl stepped ashore with regal bearing. Her straight, waist-length hair was unbound, and as black and glossy as jet. She wore a stylish maroon top that was little more than a sports bra, barely legal shorts, and open-toed, spike-heel shoes. This was clearly a girl who could turn heads and enjoyed doing so. Dramatically removing her sunglasses, the new arrival took in her surroundings. She appeared to be of mixed blood, with Asian features but pale skin, the vast majority of which was on display. She had an aura of snootiness around her. So self-absorbed she forgoes introductions altogether. Welcome to the island, Heather, McLean said with a smile that the contestants would soon come to hate during their time there. She glanced around and realized that the island itself did not live up to the images that were shown. I am not staying in this trash heap, Heather snapped as she stalked past. I'm calling my parents. Calling them with what? The host asked with false pleasantness. Seems you've already forgotten you were asked to surrender your phone, iPad, and any other advice that can connect you to the outside world. Heather found herself stiffening, but did not turn to face McLean. She silently cursed the fact that he was right. Even if she had her phone, the chances of her getting a signal was highly unlikely. Since she was stuck in this dump, she might as well stick to her plan to use the show to become a celebrity. Reluctantly she went and joined the others. Hi, looks like we're your new friends. Beth unintentionally spits while spitting. For the next 8 weeks. Don't talk to me, she snapped at Beth, causing the girl to become downtrodden. Duncan, dude. The boat next deposited a punk type with a wiry build. He wore a black t-shirt, emblazoned with a large skull design, over a long-sleeved yellow undershirt. His dark hair was styled in a green faux hawk, and his face was heavily pierced. His skin was not pale, and this detail revealed him as a punk, as opposed to another goth. I don't like surprises, he told Chris, ominously pounding his fist into his open palm. Yeah, your parole officer warned me about that man. He also told me to give him a holler any time and have you return back to juvie. Duncan sniffs. Okay, then. Duncan sauntered down the dock to where the other contestants stood, and sidled up to Heather. Meet you by the campfire, gorgeous, he suggested with a leer. Drop dead, you bastard, Heather scoffed in disgust. Another contestant had arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler. A tall lanky guy in all red jogging suit and short brown hair was skiing towards them. He was doing good until he waved to everyone, and lost his footing and started flipping through the water until he crashed into the luggage at the docks, making a stray bag fall in the water, spraying Heather's new shoes. Wicked wipeout man. Another camper to arrive was wearing glasses with thick lenses. For his face he had a few stray chin hairs that were supposed to be a goatee, but something went wrong. For his hair it was a very dark auburn hair. He was on the scrawny unfit side, with a blue shirt with a hamburger for the logo, and green pants, with white-green high tops. Chris laughs and the kid sighs. Welcome to camp, Harold. What's he looking at? Beth questioned. So you mean this show is at a crappy summer camp and not on some big stage or something? You got it. Yes. That is so much more favorable to my skills. He skips like a fairy. The next boy off the boat was a guitar player. He was dressed casually, his most remarkable garment being a semi-camo shirt featuring short, camo-patterned sleeves but a solid, light greenish torso. Emblazoned on his chest was a black handprint, the significance of which he never bothered to explain. He wore a large backpack in lieu of luggage, and carried what could only be the case for an acoustic guitar. His manner was laid back and unaffected. His black hair, longer in the bangs than elsewhere, went oddly with his green eyes, which is not to say that the effect was in any way unpleasant. Like Jeff, he sported a cleft chin. Contestant number 10 is Trent. Hey, good to meet you, man. I saw you on that figure skating show, nice work. Hey, thanks, man. I knew I'd rock that show. I saw that. One of the guys dropped his partner on her head. So, they got immunity that week. Beth brought up. Lucky, I hope I get dropped on my head. Harold said as Lindsay murmured a similar reply. Me too. So, this is it? Harold picks his nose much to the nauseating of the others. Alright then. Another boat and another arrival. Tall and willowy, she was pretty in a girl next door sort of way. She wore her long, naturally blonde hair in a low ponytail that was more functional than fashionable, and she wore no makeup. She was dressed simply, with a sky blue hoodie, shorts and sandals, and she carried a red and gold surfboard. Hey, what's up? All right. Our surfer chick, Bridget, is here. Nice board, this ain't Malibu honey, one of the other campers called out. I thought we were going to be on a beach, she asked upon taking a good look of the area only for her face to drop a bit in disappointment. We are. Chris pointed out, for the island did indeed have a beach of sorts, 2 or 3 meters of sand between lake and greensward. I mean a surfing beach, Bridget further clarified. Sorry, can't help you there, Chris replied, his bland smile suggesting that his inability to help didn't really bother him. Nothing ever stated that we would be doing any surfing during the competition. I suppose I can settle for swimming, the surfer girl said, sighing at this disappointment. Bridget hits Chris McLean with her surfboard when she suddenly turned. Damn it, girl, that hurt. Watch it. One more boat arrives and down from it stepped a spiky blonde-haired teen dressed for survival hunting. His outfit was all black except for stripes of camouflage green on the side. His skin was of a light tan shade, shorter than DJ but was pretty finely built, indicating that he was athletic with cerulean blue eyes. Ah yes, Naruto the shinobi. Glad you could make it, Chris greeted the blonde, making a call-out to the blonde's recent fame. Yeah, thanks. He briefly greeted the host. He went over to the group of contestants to where everyone was. Hello. Oh hello, Bridget greeted, swinging her board and unintentionally whacking Trent and causing some of the campers to duck. Dang. Watch the board, man. Harold shouted. Hi, I'm Beth, she greeted in a haze of perkiness. Sorry, Bridget replied with a wince. Anyway, can't believe we got a celebrity in our midst. Bridget playfully noted as Naruto rubbed the back of his neck and shrugged. I try not to let it go to my head. He replied. So tell us, when can we expect a shinobi too? Beth asked as Naruto once more shrugged. I don't know what to tell you. There's not even a script, just some ideas. They're going to stop at a sequel, right? Gwen, avid fan of horror movies in their many grotesque forms, also enjoyed action flicks as long as they weren't of the dumb summer popcorn muncher variety. She had to have one genre in which she didn't tolerate the same generic characters and plots being recycled. Okay, we've all met the movie star, why don't you all mob him later? I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on. The irritated Asian Canadian remarked, having grown tired of their chatter. Someone missed their double cappuccino macchiato this morning, Duncan said, making a jab at Heather's background. Get bent, she acidly responded. The next of boats show up, Chris makes an audible sigh. Next camper is Noah. He had longish, dark brown hair in no identifiable style and a generically brown skin tone suggesting native or Hispanic extraction. He wore high-top sneakers that didn't quite reach his high-water cargo pants. His layered top consisted of a white, long-sleeved undershirt, a short-sleeved, misbuttoned blue button-down shirt, and a red, lightweight sweater vest. Have you got my memo about my life-threatening allergies? He asked, adjusting his glasses. I'm sure someone did, Chris said with the same unhelpful response that he did to the other campers. To be honest, he didn't really care. Good, is this where we're staying? The question, along with the look of doubt and uneasiness, said it all. No, it's your mother's house, and we're throwing a party, Duncan snidely answered for the host. Cute. Nice piercings, original. Did you do them yourself? Yeah, Duncan says as he grabs Noah's lip. Do you want one? He sighs. No thanks. Can I have my lip back, please? He managed to mumble out coherently. Duncan lets go of Noah's lip. Thanks. The boat returned, and the latest arrival is a sturdy-looking girl of African descent. She was dressed simply, in jeans and a t-shirt that might have come from a mall kiosk. She was one of the stouter girls in the troupe, but not truly fat. She wore her shoulder-length hair in a fine weave, with the strands pulled back in a ponytail. Her outfit consisted of a light brown shirt with jeans hugging them, plentiful hips, and large spacious backside with dark skin with hoop earrings. What's up, y'all? LaShawna's in the house. Hey, how are you doing? How's it going? Feel free to quit now and save yourselves from trouble, cause I came to win. Not waiting for an answer, she came to DJ and offered a high five, saying, Give me some sugar, my brother. Will I'll be, my man the movie star, what's up? LaShawna asked Naruto, with a hand sign and a wink suggesting that she might be open to the possibility of getting to know the blonde better. Coming to Cody and Harold, the jovial homegirl demonstrated her ability to walk and chew gum at the same time by fist-bumping Cody with one hand and patting Harold's back with the other. I've never seen a girl like you in real life before, Harold finally spoke after finishing gasping at LaShawna. Excuse me? You're real big and loud, he foolishly remarked in his fascination, clearly not aware that was not the sort of thing you say to a woman. What did you say to me? Oh, no you didn't. You have not seen anything yet, I'll show you, big baby. You keep that up, you'll save the producers time editing you into a stereotype. Then again, that might be asking a bit much for you, the bookworm snarked. What did you just say to me? The homegirl demanded as she rolled up her sleeves to reveal biceps that by far outclassed most of the others' limbs. I got your stereotype right here. Just ignore him. Naruto had moved between the sista and the nerd. You don't want to blow your chances before the competition even begins, right? Okay people, settle down, Chris called down the dock, having noticed the altercation but not the words that led to it. There'll be plenty of time for infighting later. Whatever, Lashana said to no one in particular. She stopped trying to approach Noah, which was Naruto's cue to release her, although he kept an eye on her for a few moments until it looked like things were going to simmer down. The boat docked again, but instead of one, two contestants made their arrival. One was as skinny as a rail, with black hair and bronze skin, although whether her skin tone came from ancestry or lifestyle was not immediately clear. The other new arrival was shorter, very fat and very fair. Her hair was dyed black and styled in the same high pigtails as her companion. For companions they clearly were. These twins wore matching outfits, with pink shorts almost as skimpy as Heather's and black and white, prison-striped shirts. Even their luggage matched. Oh my gosh, Sadie, look, it's a summer camp. Okay, I've always wanted to go to summer camp. Yay! Finally, after what was 10 minutes of mindless twin chatter, the next contestant had arrived. Ezekiel, what's up, man? Chris greeted the newcomer. The next boy to arrive had a rustic, unsophisticated air about him. His unstylish but practical outfit consisted of work boots, jeans, a heavy greenish hoodie variant, and a toque. He wore his hair in a mullet, and had a downy proto-beard on his chin. I think I see a bird. The aura of dimness could not be any more apparent. Our homeschooled country boy, ladies and gentlemen, Chris announced to the camera. When he threw in a jab about freaky prairie people, he probably only did so because he knew it would most likely be edited out. Just don't say much and try not to get kicked off too early, okay? Yes, sir. Gwen sighed, trying to take in everything she had just seen. That's just, wow. And we're only halfway through. Naruto dryly commented. Well, it was still better than just sitting around and continuing to observe other worlds for the 100th time. Even after all this time, he didn't know how Hagoromo did it. He just simply didn't have the patience of the elder sage and needed to and wanted to interact with people. On the boat's next stop, a short, somewhat skinny boy strutted off the gangplank like he owned the world. He had short brown hair with long bangs nearly obscuring his green eyes. His most notable physical feature, though, was spitting gap in his teeth. This was Cody, the troop's science geek. He projected an aura of coolness, or at least of what he perceived coolness to be, but it didn't quite go with his outfit, a short-sleeved sweater, with a couple of stripes across the chest, over an off-white button-down shirt, the tails of which hung out over his cargo pants. Cody, the Codester, the Codemeister. Dude, I'm excited to be here, man. I see the women have already arrived. All right. He winked at them and everyone rolled their eyes. Cody turns around to say something to Lashana, but the sassy girl placed her finger on his lips. Save it, short stuff, Cody for his part just smirked, before taking his place. Another contestant showed up, Eva. Nice to see you here. Eva had the look of an athlete with a terse temper that contrasted with the more feminine females contestants who had arrived so far. She had a classic hourglass figure, with legs that were reasonably shapely despite being as hard as iron, and she even had a beauty mark on her lip, but she didn't seem especially interested in her appearance. She was content to keep the unibrow that nature had given her, although even normal eyebrows might have looked like a unibrow with her perpetual scowl. The severe ponytail she wore probably wasn't the most flattering look for her, and she wore no makeup beyond lipstick that matched her hazel eyes. Eva acknowledged Chris' greeting with naught but a grunt, her sullen expression as unchanging as McLean's smile, and trudged down the dock. When she came to Cody and Harold, she thought that a good place to await the arrival of the remaining contestants. As she turned to face the end of the dock, she dropped her bag, which fell to the dock with a heavy clunk. What's in there? Cody asked, trying to make conversation. Dumbbells? Yes. She's all yours, man. Duncan replied. The next arrival was the largest one by far. In size he dwarfed all the rest of them, with only DJ matching him, but in height only. The boy was grossly fat, easily 400 pounds minimum, dressed simply, in shorts, sneakers, and what looked like a faux team shirt of some kind. He had a scraggly little mop of unkempt blonde hair. Wahoo! Chris! What's happenin'? The fat kid said, bursting into laughter. This is awesome. Wahoo! As he barreled down the dock, he tripped and hits his head against the dock. Owen. Welcome. Awesome to be here, man. Yeah. Man, this is just so, he rambled on before Gwen took a stab at what the fat kid was going to say next. Awesome? Yes, awesome. Whoa. Are you gonna be on my team? Oh, I sure hope so. Gwen replied sarcastically in response to the question. So far she was not impressed by what she was seeing. Whoa. You're about finished. Sorry, dude. I'm just so psyched. Cool, and here comes Courtney. While not a model, Courtney was still a head-turner. Her tanned complexion indicated she spent a good deal of time outdoors. Her other features included shoulder-length, chestnut brown hair, which she wore loosely. Her outfit included a short, lightweight gray sweater over a more expansive off-white blouse with calf-length, olive green pants that hugged her hips quite nicely. She also wore high-heeled sandals, but even with this style of shoes it was soon made apparent when compared to the others she was rather short. Thank you. Courtney joined the other contestants and engaged in polite introductions with a number of them. Hi, you must be the other contestants. It's really nice to meet you all. How's it going? I'm Owen. He greeted as he shook her hand. Nice to meet you. Oh, wow, she replied in response to his strong and pudgy grip. So we got a normal one, wasn't expecting that. Naruto greeted her with a light-hearted smile. Not sure what you mean by that, but thanks I guess. Courtney's glad-handing and amiable chit-chatting ceased abruptly, as did all other conversation, when the last contestant arrived. And now the eye candy for our female viewership. Justin. For a lack of better description, Justin was a god among men. He had a ripped physique that was not within the realm of bodybuilder's exaggeration, though it did ripple under his tight t-shirt. He also wore old, nondescript blue jeans and sneakers, but none of the girls noticed those until later. His shortish hair was straight, glossy and raven black. His skin was a flawless bronze, his teeth a flawless white, and his eyes, oh, those eyes, beckoning sapphire wells that a girl could drown in if she wasn't careful, and maybe even if she was. In short, every girl present desired him on sight. The boys' reactions to the new arrival were mixed. Some were disdainful of the pretty boy, some admired his ripped physique, knowing that a guy didn't get that way without a lot of work, whatever his natural gifts. And some saw a dangerous rival who might damage their own chances of hooking up with someone. Welcome to Total Drama Island. Thanks, Chris, this is great, the teen replied enthusiastically. He was already making it up in his mind how he was going to win. Just so you know, we picked you based entirely on your looks. I can deal with that, he responded with a grin. I like your pants. Thanks, man. 'Cause they look like they're all worn out, he laughs. Did you buy them like that? No, just had them for a while. Oh, cool, stupid, the host whispered the last part as the teen walked down the dock. The last boat arrived and out stepped a slim girl standing at the prow and waving excitedly. Her long, somewhat curly hair was a fiery Scotch orange-red, and her eyes were green. She wore a green halter top with a collar and a cleavage window. She was the only girl with a long skirt, reaching almost to her knees, but the skirt was of a curious design, covering most of her thighs on the outside but barely on the inside. It was knotted on one side and hung low on her hips, only partially covering her green bikini-like panties. All in all, it looked like Izzy, as the new arrival was called, had simply wrapped a yellow-green towel around her hips. Hey everyone. Izzy. When the boat came to a stop, Izzy rushed to the gangplank, but stubbed her toe and took a header off the boat. Recovering quickly, she executed a flip and landed cat-like on her feet, just about as close to the end of the dock as she could have done without falling into the water. This is summer camp? That is so cool. Do you have paper mache here? Are we having lunch soon? That is a good call. The fat kid replied. First things first, we need a group photo for the promos, everyone on the end of the dock. The rest of the campers walked down to the end of the dock of shame. The cameraman took his sweet time preparing. When he was finally ready, he called to everyone to smile. Most of the teens managed smiles, despite their misgivings. Okay. 1, 2, 3, oops, okay, forgot the lens cap, okay, hold that pose, 1, 2, oh. No wait, card's full, hang on. Come on, man, my face is starting to freeze. Leshawana complained. Got it, everyone say, Wawanakwa. The campers replied. Wawanakwa. Whoa. The old rigidity bridge collapsed and several of the campers fell in. Okay, guys, dry off, and meet at the campfire pit in 10. Let the pain begin. The group of 23 campers was led to the campfire pit as Chris continued to explain the rules and setup of the game show. This is Camp Wawanakwa, your home for the rest of your time staying here. The campers sitting around you will be your cabin mates, your competition, and maybe even your friends. You dig? The camper who manages to stay on Total Drama Island for the longest, without getting voted off, will win $100,000. Excuse me. Duncan called out. What will the sleeping arrangements be? Because I'd like to request a bunk under her. He pointed to Heather, whose mouth dropped wide open. They're not co-ed, are they? Heather asked, the horror still clear on her face. It looked like she was trying to avoid the urge to shiver in disgust. No, girls get one side of each cabin, and dudes get the other. Chris explained. As much as he wanted to make them co-ed for all the potential drama, their lawyers advised against this to minimize the likeliness of the company and show being sued. Excuse me, Kyle? Can I have a cabin with a lake view since I'm the prettiest? Lindsay asked, batting her eyelashes and trying to make use of her beauty for better accommodations. Okay, you are. But that's not really how it works here, and it's Chris. The host corrected. Katie and Sadie respectively went into an explanation about how they would just die if they were split up. Not my problem, Chris replied unsympathetically at the end of their little tirades. This cannot be happening. Gwen darkly grumbled as she massaged her forehead to ease the migraine that was slowly developing. Come on guys. It'll be fun. It's like a big sleepover. Owen exclaimed, grabbing Gwen and Tyler and giving them a bear hug. Now, as I explained last time, there were changes in the contracts, and since most of you found it fit not to go over the revisions, I'll go over a few things briefly, and anything you find yourselves unaware of, it's your own fault. Due to the addition of a generous partner, some of the stunts have been changed immensely. We've also been able to make new additions in the staff, which you'll eventually get around to meeting. Now, because of the uneven number of applicants, any formation of teams would be imbalanced. So the only way to fix that is with a challenge which will help shave off that extra number by tomorrow. Anyway, you have half an hour to get situated with your cabin and put away your things before we continue the tour. The campers were led to their cabins, which seemed rather cramped and plain. The cabin had 12 bunk beds, so questions regarding the bunking arrangements had focused mainly on who would have upper bunks and who would have lower. Though, the decision to put 2 beds together for Owen came down to 2 distinct factors. That Owen was huge and couldn't fit in a single bed, and no one wanted to bunker under him for fear of it collapsing. Talk about the room arrangements soon devolved into talking about the opposite sex. But she's so dumb, I'm surprised she doesn't forget how to breathe. She'd be great for a fling, but as for a girlfriend, not so much. Naruto shook his head at the fickleness of the conversation. True, the Lindsay girl wasn't the brightest, but she seemed nice nonetheless. There could be more to her we don't know. Some people tend to have hidden depths, and we shouldn't be so quick to judge them. Judging someone without getting to know them was something that grated at Naruto. Well then, who do you think would make a great companion? Naruto paused and thought about it. We only have a first impression, but I guess Bridget is nice. She seems to have a down-to-earth disposition. From what he saw, she seemed a friendly and relaxed person. I guess that Courtney girl also seems okay. He shrugged. I don't know, the only thing we can really go off of right now is their looks. The conversation didn't keep up for long, seeing as there wasn't much to go on besides looks. Attention, campers, Chris announced over the loudspeakers, meet me in front of your cabins, and we'll continue the orientation. About 10 minutes later, Chris brought his young charges to the washroom. Some of you have already discovered the communal washroom, the host began. It has a few Bronze Age flush toilets, sinks and no-frills shower stalls. It does have hot water, sort of, but I pity anyone who happens to be taking a shower when someone turns on a faucet. Lindsay raised her hand and Chris, anticipating the brainless beauty's question, said that a communal part means that you'll all be using the same facilities, so anyone who has a problem with that will just have to deal with it. Likewise, you'll have to work out the scheduling, if any, for yourselves. Of course, things were going to be designed to rake in any drama they can. You may have also discovered that the cabins don't have electrical outlets. The washroom does, for those of you who use powered beauty aids. Likewise, if any of you have basic MP3 players or other types of non-communication gadgets that the producers didn't see fit to confiscate, you can charge them here. Chris led the campers to an outhouse that had a general appearance of advanced decay. This outhouse is very important, the host said, and not just because it's an auxiliary toilet for when you get the runs and can't get into the washroom. The real importance of this outhouse is that this is where you will record your confessionals, which no elimination game would be complete without. You can go in there to record your innermost thoughts, or just to get something off your chest. Confessionals are a great way to get screen time, so don't be shy. Press that red button to remotely turn the camera on and again to turn it off. That's the only control you can access, because the camera's settings have been pre-optimized and we don't want you fiddling with them. The next stop was a large tent that housed 2 cots and a variety of medical supplies and equipment. This, Chris said, is the infirmary. This is where you can come to get fixed up if one of the daily hazards of camp life gets you. In addition to treating things like burns, sprains and dislocations, which more than one of you will probably have before the game is over, we can remove porcupine quills, lance boils, set broken bones and resuscitate drowning victims, and we can also treat life-threatening allergic reactions, food poisoning, arrow wounds, bear mauling. The list went on to the point of some of the injuries listed seemed to be rooted in the world of fantasy. Totally routine stuff, really. It's so commonsensical it hardly seems worth mentioning, but legal said we had to tell you. Though, while we have a couple of half-liters of blood on hand, we do not have enough for a transfusion. So if you're mauled by a wild animal, chances are we won't be able to help you. As Chris recited the litany of mishaps that were beyond the infirmary's capacity to set right, his usual bland smile gave way to a dazzling full smile of the sort that television news anchors use for major disaster coverage. Chris then led the campers to a nondescript building that was larger than the washroom but smaller than the cabins. This, he informed them, is the on-island shop. Basically, it's an on-site convenience store. You can get all sorts of stuff here to make your lives a little easier. Now if you're wondering how you're going to have enough cash to pay for these items, during the course of the game we'll have a board up with a list of optional challenges. These items sell in the shop can range from living convenience to minor aids during the challenges. With how often Chris changed the rules, it wasn't like those items were going to be of much help anyway. Chris led the campers away from the campsite proper, a little ways up the shore to a small building with a secondary dock. This, he said, is the boathouse. This is where we store canoes, life jackets and such like when they're not in use, and it also serves as a general maintenance shed. You probably won't be spending a lot of time here, but a couple of challenges might bring you here. Naruto took a peek inside and took notice of several objects. Chains, huge hooks, harpoons, and other tools used for hunting, fishing, or various other sports. The one thing he noticed, of course, was the scent of blood. Finally, Chris led his young celebrities in the making to what proved to be their final stop. The largest building in the camp, this could only be the main lodge. It was the most inviting-looking building the campers had seen since arriving on the island, and it appeared to be better maintained than the camp's other structures. That was when they were introduced to the chef. The cutout shutters slid aside, and several pairs of eyes widened at the sight of the camp chef. He was a tall, hulking, black individual, even more muscular than DJ. He appeared to have a shaved head, although his traditional chef's hat made it difficult to be certain. He also sported a deeply cleft chin and an all-pro spitting gap in his teeth. He looked over the campers with a scowl, for his was a sour disposition not unlike Eva's. Many of the campers were taken aback at the chef's appearance. Now addressing the entire troop, Chris said, "This is Chef Hatchet, so called because, well, I don't want to spoil the surprise. In addition to preparing your meals, he's also my aide, so you'll see him doing support work at most of the challenges. Here's how it works, Hatchet said gruffly and loudly. I make it 3 times a day, and you'll eat it 3 times a day. And I don't want to hear about special dietary needs. This ain't no 5-star restaurant, so you eat what I give you, or you don't eat. Tonight's main course is Sloppy Joe's. So grab a tray, get your grub, sit your butts down, and don't give me no lip. Year? The teams will sit together at meals, Chris added. Which will be decided tomorrow after the challenge. The campers dutifully queued up, grabbed their buns and other peripherals, and filed past Hatchet as he doled out the Sloppy Joe filling and the sides, olive drab beans and something that probably used to be potato salad. A few campers that were regarded as skinny such as Cody or Heather. All in all, the so-called meal was mystery meat instead of ground beef. I think I'm going to be sick, Bridget remarked with a grimace. Man, this looks like dog food, Tyler remarked as he poked at the slop. No sense in complaining. We signed up for this, and unless you want to blow up all the money you brought with you on the market, you might as well stomach through it, Naruto remarked as he fought past the foul smell. I'm a vegetarian though. I can't eat anything that once had a face, Bridget admitted with a purse of her lips. Cool. Mine just moved, Izzy cried out as she began poking at the thing with exaggerate combat strikes. This battle is mine. As the campers sat, warily regarded their dinners, Jeff elected to tempt the gods. Turning toward Chris, who had returned to the lodge after a brief departure, the urban cowboy called, Yo, my man. Can we order some pizza? Hatchet gave no sign that he had overheard Jeff, but as the hulking chef turned away from the common area, he abruptly swept his arm in the camper's general direction. There was a metallic glint in the air, and Jeff suddenly felt a breeze where he was not used to feeling one. The campers, looking disconcerted, looked toward the doorway. Next to the door, a butcher knife yet quivered slightly, its point embedded in the wall. Impaled upon that knife was Jeff's hat. Only now did Hatchet look in Jeff's direction, fixing the urban cowboy with a "don't mess with me" glare. Hatchet had extensively practiced that no-look knife throw, for he was a veteran of a currently undisclosed organization and knew well and how to get someone's attention. The campers ate without further incident, the legendary teenager's appetite eventually overcoming any concerns about the food's uncertain origins. Conversation flowed freely as the campers got to know their teammates better and speculated on what lay ahead. I wonder what kind of challenge they're going to make us do tomorrow, Bridget asked Jeff, who was sitting opposite to her. I dunno, the urban cowboy replied easily. But it's the first challenge, so it can't be that hard, right? Way to tempt fate, Naruto remarked. I met this Chris guy and one of the producers before during one of my film shoots, and trust me, for a show they're spearheading it won't be anything but painful. I'm not a fan of reality shows, but from what I hear they fix a lot of things for ratings. I'm pretty sure they'll do everything in their power to make sure we're at each other's throats. By the time the teens began to return to their cabins, night had fallen. Reality show producers don't like their contestants to be well rested, because sleep-deprived people have less emotional control. Likewise, a harsh wake-up call makes people feel less rested, other things being equal. And so, a blazing horn along the sound of Chris's voice was enough to jolt the campers awake. Not long after, the campers, some still wide-eyed and twitchy from their wake-up call, filed into the lodge for breakfast. Chris was at the door to greet his young charges, his carefully practiced bland smile concealing his glee as he looked on his handiwork and saw that it was good. Breakfast consisted of eggs runny side up, with delicately carbonized bacon and heavy bread toasted golden black. The beverage options were lake water that still tasted of the disinfecting chemicals, horrifically bitter grapefruit juice and milk that was noticeably over the hill. As the teens ate, Chris called for attention, and announced that they were to assemble in front of the lodge in 1 hour, to begin the first challenge. Chris paused a few moments for dramatic effect, and then dropped the other shoe. You are about to find out why you had to sign all those waivers to be on the show. Your first challenge can be dangerous, potentially. It appears I made it right on time. This is going to be a fun little venture. A voice from off-camera called out. Mr. Shepington. Naruto audibly voiced his surprise, loudly acquiring the other campers' attention. Our campers are prepped, Christopher. The man looked every bit as professional as he sounded. His hair cut down to a short fade style, his skin a deep caramel complexion and his eyes a light shade of hazel. He was in his 30s, a small scar on his left cheek, wearing a black Armani suit with black dress shoes. Around his neck he wore a chain with a jewel that had the insignia of a panther encrusted on it. Meet the money behind the show. Marcus Shepington. I must say, sir, you're pulling off the suit quite well. This could not be happening. Greetings, young camper. I am Marcus Shepington, the executive producer of what I hope to be a long-running reality/survival TV show series. I thank you all for volunteering for our show. Now I know what you're thinking, an executive producer. Don't they sit behind desks all day, talking with investors and throwing their money at projects? Let's just say I'm one who believes in a more hands-on approach. As you've all noticed, the number of campers is uneven, but that's going to be fixed soon. You will all be partaking in the challenge of stealing one of these. He took a golden bell out of his pocket. From me. There will be a total of 20 bells in all. You will have over the course of 24 hours starting tomorrow at noon to retrieve the bells. Before he could continue, Gwen cut in. Not to interrupt of anything, but if there are 20 bells, doesn't that mean 3 people will be eliminated? Good question, but no, you see, this is where things get interested. When I start the challenge, I will not be wearing any weights at all. With each hour I will add some weight to give our less athletic contestants a chance until all the bells are gotten. Within the scope of an hour from when the challenge starts, I will also begin to start hiding bells one by one. The object is to get a bell and you're safe from elimination, but you can also take more than one bell to decrease the other chances of winning. If more than one person goes without the bell, then we will go with a system of how close the person was and how long it took them to get back to the starting point of this whole game. For those who get more than one bell, with each additional bell 1 hour will be taken from your time. Whoever gets their bell first and gets back with the lowest time and/or most bells win. That's just part 1. There will be 2 additional bells, silver bells, which can only be acquired by 2 campers. Those who get the silver bell will become the leader of the opposing team, pick their members, and decide their team name. But I'll explain more about part 2 of the test after part 1 is completed. The challenge will begin in 1 hour. If I were you all, I'd take the time to stretch and prepare. Marcus Shepington was a man who enjoyed a challenge, and this was definitely going to prove to be a fun challenge. Naruto read the time, 10:03, off his watch as he waited patiently for Marcus to arrive to begin the first challenge. He looked around and noticed the campers were doing their own things. Gwen, the black teal-haired girl, was sitting off to the side, by a tree with her eyes closed, while the geeky kid Cody was trying to chat her up. The keyword being trying, as he was fumbling over his words and the goth ignoring him. Then there was the other geeky kid. Beth was getting along with the gorgeous, albeit a bit dim, blonde bombshell Lindsay. His attention then moved to typical A-type person Courtney. The A-types were defined by obvious traits such as being smart, attractive, and physical fit person who often succeeded in whatever they tried. She, Bridget the surfer girl, the muscular Jamaican DJ, Jeff, Justin, and Leshawana had formed their own little group. Then there was the delinquent and the queen bee, the latter lashing out at the former because of the suggestive comments and innuendo he was making towards her. One by one, Naruto was studying the competition. He had already picked out the ones who wouldn't be going that far in the game. The dressed-alike girls Katie and Sadie definitely weren't going far. They were chatting nearly 50 words a minute and didn't seem to have that spark of intelligence or physical features the others had. The butch Russian chick Eva wasn't going to go that far either. So far she had broken out into 2 fits of rage. Between that and her bulging biceps, that most obvious conclusions would be that she was taking steroids. It just wasn't natural for a woman to exercise to the point of being that bulky. Their bodies literally lacked the hormone needed to build up that kind of body mass. The ones he was keeping his eyes out for was Gwen, one of the most balanced members of the cast from his observation so far. Then there was also that Izzy girl. There wasn't something right about her either. That was one of the things Naruto found himself enjoying since he got here. Regular people were quite easy to read, but the ones that were as spirited as Izzy were always a surprise waiting to happen. Checking his watch again, he noticed it was 9:09. With that, the Asian Canadian let out a rather unladylike groan of frustration. Where the hell is this guy? He's late. The challenge was supposed to begin at 9 and he's 10 minutes late. By far she was one of the more hostile campers, not to mention impatient. He probably won't show up for another 10 minutes. 15 if there is cheesecake involved. Naruto lazily answered the tense Asian Sandian's exclamation, took out a pocket knife and began whittling a small broken twig he found on the ground. "I'd get comfortable if I were you," he added as his blade lopped off a large piece of the stick, causing him to look down at the piece, with a sad expression. At that Gwen opened her eyes and began to speak. Naruto?" she asked as the blonde examined the twig. Gwen was doing her best not to act like a crazed stereotypical fan, but it was really hard to when the main star of one of her favorite movies was right there. "Yeah?" he answered, his focus now off the blade. "No reason to be nervous. I don't bite, unless it's requested." Gwen let out a forced laugh at the joke before finally recollecting enough of her cool to ask the next question. "You seem to know this producer pretty well. So what's your connection?" Normally Gwen wouldn't have struck up a conversation so casually, but Naruto was an unusual oddity to her. He didn't seem to fit into any of the high school cliques like most of the campers. He wasn't some jerk, party boy, or jock that took to hitting on every girl in sight or meathead going on about sports. He was also surprisingly pleasant if not quiet, a contrast to a lot of celebrities nowadays who seem to make it their personal mission to act like they lost their damn minds constantly with doing something crazy to get in the news every other week. He just seemed comfortable. "Mr. Shepington was always something of a private backer in some of my projects. He's always hated to be involved with committees since so a lot of board members or head of companies seem out of touch of what the viewers actually want to see instead of trying to enforce their own vision in the form of overplayed cliches and stereotypes. Hence why he's so hands-on, or why he backs projects most people wouldn't. It's why my character in Shinobi, while he had moments of teasing with some of the female characters, didn't have a love interest he instantly fell in love with. There wasn't enough time to develop a fully believable romantic relationship, unlike literally every other piece of media out there that forces a romantic pairing for the sake of having one, no matter how badly it's done. If you're going to do something, might as well put effort into it, you know." "Wow, sounds like a bit of a perfectionist." Bridget took the seat next to him. She had only seen the movie because one of her friends had dragged her to see it. Mainly because she had found the main actor really hot. While Bridget didn't like the gore, she had to admit the choreography for the action was amazing, and unlike most anti-hero types, Naruto's character was actually likable instead of a jerk-ass trying way too hard to be cool. 9:12 flashed on his watch. "So, since you're like a movie star, have you been all over the world?" Lindsay had always wanted to be a movie star, so of course she was interested in talking with the blonde. "Quite a few places. Plenty of countryside locales, Singapore, Latin, but mostly out east in many areas of Japan. It's actually pretty funny whenever I head there, as I'm always accused of being a gaijin, a term for foreigner when I'm actually of Asian descent," he added with a half-joking smile. Heather snorted at this and casually spoke in Japanese. "Last I heard, people of Asian descent didn't have blonde hair or blue eyes. I'll admit it's unusual, but so is being of Asian Canadian." He spoke back, surprising her. "So you speak Japanese, so what? That doesn't prove you're of Asian descent," she snappily countered in response. "Well, it's a good thing your word isn't the word of God now, is it?" he snapped back as the queen bee scowled at him. He shrugged it off without a care. What the hell could she do to him anyway? He checked the time again. 9:15. The jingle of bells filled the air. The campers immediately began looking in all directions to find the source of the noise. "So how long are you going to be hiding in the tree?" Naruto asked as he trained his eyes on the tree that the noise came from. From above, Marcus dropped and landed on his feet in a crouching position. The executive producer had changed his outfit, wearing a t-shirt, pair of cargo pants and boots for better maneuverability. "Ah. The lacking of patience is a poor quality. You all remember the rules. 20 golden bells are followed by 2 silver bells, which will be for the leader of teams. Each hour a bell isn't recovered, it will be hidden. Those who don't get a bell will have their positioned based on how close and time that person took to get back to this spot. Any questions?" he asked as several hands were raised. "Yeah, Mr. McGillis?" He picked Owen out of the group. By 24 hours do you mean straight through, because after a couple I get hungry and... Marcus interrupted Owen in the middle of the question, already seeing this is where this was going. That's 24 hours straight through. You better decide how much time you're going to spend eating or sleeping. Each second the clock ticks down. Now who has another question? He trailed the crowd onto his eyes set on Eva. Ah yes, Miss Garin. We're allowed to steal bells from the other campers, right? She asked with a menacing expression that unnerved several of the weaker and cowardly campers. Yeah, sure, why not? Marcus replied with a shrug. This was without a doubt going to be quite entertaining. What if we eliminated the competition by another means? The butch girl asked, punching one fist into another. It is absolutely forbidden to use physical violence against another camper that could result in permanent or lethal injuries. For this challenge at least, but if you think you can defeat me, you're welcome to try. But I can guarantee you that you won't like the results. Poor naive bastards. Naruto could see the looks of overconfidence on the faces of the campers like Duncan, Eva, and that Courtney girl. By his own words, he was not a man that sat on his own ass. Naruto had let that firsthand when the man showed that he took martial arts in his youth and still to this day paid instructors to keep him in top physical shape. Since this was the bell test, Naruto figured he might as well offer his help to some of the campers while trying to get one for himself. He might even figure out who he could set up to be eliminated. Naruto shook his head and decided against it. It wouldn't be honorable to do something like that. And with that the challenge begins. Several campers had immediately lunged at the dark-skinned man only to front flip over them with ease. The Eva girl was the first to recover and threw a brutal left hook. Marcus twisted his face to the side, narrowly avoiding the punch, but it was obvious that the slowness of his movements was exaggerated. He dropped down and sweep-kicked her. Flicking his hand back, he whacked Duncan in the face, sending the delinquent crashing into Tan Justin. Hey, watch it, you thug. You almost messed up my hair. Kiss my ass, pretty boy. The orange-haired girl Izzy gave a battle cry as she did a series of flips. She landed right in front of Marcus, but instead of doing anything she turned around and promptly ran away, backwards. Both Naruto and Marcus shared a look as the same thought came to their mind. What the hell? The rest of you are going to get horrendous scores if you don't attempt something. He stated as he felt a tugging sensation. Victory! Izzy cried out from behind Marcus, holding a bell. To say everyone was dumbfounded was an understatement. How in the hell? Marcus asked, quite genuinely surprised and confused. I knew if I caught you completely off guard by doing something crazy, I would be able to sneak up on you and snatch a bell. She explained, tossing it up in her hand with a triumph grin. You know, we just might have a spot for you on Shinobi too. He had to admit the girl's actions were so out there that in some sort of odd way it made sense. It definitely was odd enough that it caused him to pause to wonder what happened. Don't the rest of you think it'll be that easy? He said, taking a smoke pellet from his pocket and tossing it on the ground. My eyes. My face. My gorgeous hair. My clothes. When the smoke dispersed, Marcus was gone and in his place was a letter saying, 23 hours, 52 minutes, and 46 seconds to go. Naruto shook his head in disbelief, still tripping over the fact the crazy girl had got a bell before him. I guess that's another person I have to watch out for. He thought as the other campers began scattering around the island. Before he began searching for Naruto, a voice spoke up. Naruto, was it? I believe you and I can help each other. Naruto turned to the speaker and was quite surprised at who made the statement. 926. It didn't take long for Naruto to figure why A-class, as he dubbed her, propositioned the team up for this task. It was obvious. He knew the producer Mr. Shepington the best and had the best chance of fighting him head-on. Naruto began studying the Hispanic Canadian as they continued their trek. She had mocha-colored skin with shoulder-length hair with various shades of brown which included russet, chamois, and fallow and onyx eyes. Her outfit consisted of a white blouse with three-quarter-length sleeves, and gray sweater vest and green capris with high-heel wedges. The young lady was very attractive, he had to admit. So you have yet to said anything? What is our plan? She asked him as Naruto continued on without a word for several more feet as he continued to track down Mr. Shepington. The man's cologne was pretty strong, so he was tracking him based off that while also looking for evidence of any disturbed ground or footprints. I'm going to attack him head on and try to see if I can get a couple of the bells. In a straight-on fight I'll be able to take him, but it might take me a bit of time. If I do happen to knock some loose, that'll be your opportunity to get them. Why are we moving at such a slow pace then? The others will get bells before us at this rate, she said as Naruto chuckled and leaped over the log. We need to conserve our energy. Besides that, Eva and maybe that Jock Tyler, the rest of them won't give Mr. Shepington trouble until he started adding weights. He once told me he used to run track in high school on set once. He was very active in his younger years, which are why he prefers a head-on approach to projects like this. Unless he is going easy on them, none of them should get a bell that early, he said as they continued their trek down the path. The fact that there were evidence of crumpled leaves on the ground indicating someone had passed by here. The sound of birds also filled the air as they would land on the branch and communicate for a bit before taking off. Taking a glance at the sun, Naruto noted not much time had passed at all. What about with the orange-haired chick? She asked him, referencing the incident with Izzy, as Naruto cracked a grin and chuckled a bit. He wasn't crazy prepared enough, he replied, and seeing as Courtney rose an eyebrow, it showed she didn't get the reference. They soon came to a suspended log wedge between over a drop into a river. Naruto merely hopped on and began walking across it casually. And I don't want him to alert our position with a bunch of noise. Trust me, this challenge is going to take a while. 9:44, 23 hours, 15 minutes, 42 seconds left. Marcus was walking across the forest casually dancing to some sort of jazz song to his iPod, seemingly unaware to his surroundings. He dipped his head and stretched as a rock went flying overhead. He continued on ahead as rock after rock missed him. He stopped to yawn and stretch, closing his eyes for some reason as the bushes rumbled. Seemingly unaware of the person emerging from the bushes and rushing him. Dipping back slightly with a sudden jolt, Marcus extended his leg and tripped the incoming person. Turns out it was the green mohawk-bearing criminal look-alike Duncan. And turning to the left, we see Boy's pride sense soaring. He shouted as if he was a football announcer and a player from the home team scored a touchdown. But yeah, kid, are you sure this is the brightest idea? Hey jerk-off, you were the one to challenge us to try to take the bells. So I'm going to take one of those bells, Duncan said, raising his hands and preparing for some fisticuffs. Hey man, I was sort of just kidding, Marcuse said with a casual shrug as he started doing smooth robot motions with his shoulders. But if you think you can take it, care to try, but this ain't whatcha won't? Marcus challenged as he did a bring it finger motion. Duncan charged forward and met with air. What the hell? Come out, you coward. Marcus dropped down from above and landed a solid kick to the back of Duncan's head, sending him crashing to the ground. 1 down. 24 to go, the producer noted as he continued down his path, leaving a dazed and injured Duncan behind. 9:57. I'm sorry. What? Marcus asked in disbelief as the pretty boy repeated once more. I mean, don't you want to hand me a bell? The pretty boy said again, doing some weird eye-like gesture. Justin, as his profile said, was the only American of the group, being a native of Hawaii. He had soft black hair, smooth rogue-like features, a ripped body with clean-cut six-pack. He was dressed in sleeveless forest green muscle shirt and tight black pants that was more tailored for going to the mall than being out in the wilderness. Marcus had gone over the boy's profile and wondered he was chosen. Now he understood the juvie with the piercings and background. Maybe the bad boy appeal to draw in the brain-dead fangirls who equate looks to good boyfriend material, or a bad boy as passionate or a hurting soul they could heal, but the pretty boy? He didn't really have any skills that would help him survive out here. And this only added one more mark to Marcus's growing list of things to prove Chris's repressed homoerotic nature, as well as wondering why he was hired. No, not really, he said, feeling a bit uncomfortable due to the looks the tanned male model was giving him. What the hell was going on? No. Could it be? Have I possibly come across the one person immune to my charms? Yeah, I'm just going to put an end to this now, Marcus declared, picking up a clump of dirt and hurling it at Justin, who screamed and ducked out of the way. Yes, the boy's need to protect his looks made driving him away far too easy. And now to hide a bell. 10:12. Now this was definitely an interesting spin on the test. So what do I do? Marcus's path was once more blocked by another brunette with light green eyes. He was an average-looking boy with black pants, green cameo shirt and sleeveless lime green overshirt. Nothing about the kid seemed unusual. Maybe he should have paid a little more attention to the profiles. You mean besides get the bells? The cheesecake fanatic asked as the small bells jingled with each movement. Well, I'm not much of a fighter. How about a deal? We come up with a theme song I can play when you show up on camera and I get a bell? Deal? That sounds fair. Playing to his ego, huh? Normally such a thing wouldn't work, but Marcus decided to warn the kid for his gumption. The boy strung a few notes on his guitar only for the branch of the tree to break and fall on him. After checking to make sure the boy wasn't seriously injured, the man took out his phone and called in some of the interns to make sure the boy wouldn't be mauled by an animal. 11:34. Help. Can someone get me down from here? Harold, the brown-haired boy with the glasses, found himself hanging from the tree courtesy of a rope trap. By his appearance and his body it was obvious he was quite nerdy. Hey, don't worry String Bean, I got your back, the sun-kissed blonde surfer said as she walked over to the tree. Just give me a second, she said as she looked for something to cut the rope. She said as she found a roughed-edge rock. Placing it in her pocket, she climbed up the tree and shimmed across the branch as she began sawing the thick rope with the jagged rock. 11:45. You know, we've walked around aimlessly for hours now. Just when are we going to get those bells? Courtney was growing rather impatient as she felt like they were wasting time walking around. The mosquitoes and smell of animal waste certainly wasn't helping the situation. We will get those bells, Courtney. Just be patient, he assured her as they continued their trek. 12:12. Hey, I think I see a bell, one of the campers said as one of the golden bells gleamed from a tree branch high up. After walking around aimlessly and realizing most of them didn't have adequate surviving and camping skills, some of the campers decided to team up. After all, only one of them would be eliminated and there was no point in spending hours walking around lost aimlessly when they didn't have to. The group consisted of Jeff, an easygoing and fun-loving cowboy dressed in a pink shirt and shorts along with a cowboy hat. He had piercing blue eyes and short blonde hair and he seemed rather laid back, lax in comparison to the other campers. That's pretty high up, he noted, as the height from where the bell was without a doubt would equate to full body cast if one was lucky to survive. So someone has to get the bell, but who's going to get it? Leshawana, the African-Canadian, voiced the question on everyone's mind. Like most of the other campers, her jeans and her mustard yellow with apple graphics shirt wasn't really all too practical for trekking through the woods. She really wished she had changed into something else as she continued to scratch her arm. Damn mosquitoes. Well, it's only fair that whoever gets it keeps it, the muscular Jamaican DJ voiced his opinion. So far the group had been following his advice on how to track the host due to him being wildlife mindful and had camping experience. I'm an ace at this sort of thing. I got this. The red jumpsuit wearing Jock Tyler exclaimed proudly. Rubbing his hands and walking around the tree, he hopped up on it and tried to pull himself up only to fall off. I got this, he said, stretching his knees and legs, and tried climbing up again only for him to slip and fall down again. Ugh, can I get a boost? I think that host guy must have put something on the tree to make it slippery, he said as the others rolled his eyes. Sure thing, buddy, the rather junky Owen said, picking him up. Oops, he said as he launched Tyler up above and over the bell to the point where the screaming jock could no longer be heard. The big guy who doesn't know his own strength. How original, the Indian Noah commented sardonically. Though the others seemed to careless about his disdainful comment as they were trying to decide who would go next. 12:35. Marcus was sitting against a rock and sleeping apparently. His snoring was echoed throughout a small area rather loudly. Seemingly unaware of the duo who was watching him. He's asleep. Here's our chance, we can just rush him now, Courtney suggested, only for Naruto to halt her by grabbing his shoulder, shaking his head. It's a trap, Naruto said as he moved his right leg back, taking a deep breath as he shot forward faster than a normal human could comprehend. He snatched at the bells only for his hand to go through. Damn it. A projection? Naruto began clawing at the air, and just as he thought, a background. The whole little area was masked quite nicely to disguise the trick. The sound of jingling bells nearby got his attention. There, he thought as he launched himself deeper into the forest. Marcus ducked and weaved out of each punch Naruto was launching at him. He was being careful to conserve his energy. Naruto was not only younger, but he was still currently training and maintaining his form, while Marcus only did a light amount of exercise to stay in safe. He didn't have what it took to outlast the blonde in a straight-up fight. The fight drew out for quite a while until the blonde made a kick, to which he managed to knock off a couple of the bells and was careful not to indicate he did so. Naruto made for a grab for the bells and flashed a grin. "Thanks for the bells, Mr. Shepington," he waved as he took off in a flash. It only took a moment for Marcus's eyes to widen as he pulled up the bells and counted them. 2 of them had been nicked. 20 hours, 11 minutes, 11 seconds. "You know, I got to admit, I was a little skeptical, but you did pretty good," Courtney complimented Naruto in a rather condescending way. Naruto let it roll off him, knowing that he should get to know the girl more before making up his opinion about her. "Yeah, well, it's what I do. Most actors are fine being pretty faces with stunt doubles, but that wasn't something that would set well with me. In fact, the only reason I joined this competition just to get away for a bit and have some fun. It's not even really winning for me. I figured that this is my best chance for a vacation." "You're not even going to try? Isn't that a waste of your abilities?" As the typical type A, 4.0 grade point average and highly athletic overachiever, Courtney distanced herself from people who were sloppy or lazy. She couldn't understand why people would waste their potential and not give it their all. "All things considering, there is no point in wasting my energy this early in this competition. Anyway, you can head back to camp if you want. I'm continuing on ahead," Naruto said, causing Courtney to stop in her tracks. "Wait, where are you going?" she asked him. "I'm going to observe the others and see how they are in action. I got a leadership bell, so might as well try to learn a bit about the people who I will choose for my team," he said as he paused and turned to gauge her reaction. "Unless you want to come too." "Actually, that sounds like a good plan." "All right, I'll come with," she said as she walked up to Naruto's sides. "You do know where you're going, right?" she asked as Naruto let out an annoyed sigh. "Yes, you can be a little less critical of people," he replied with an annoyed grunt as they continued walking into the forest. 19 hours, 33 minutes, 15 seconds. Gwen trekked through the forest with a huff of exhaustion as she used her sleeve to wipe the sweat from her brow. She really wished she had changed into some lighter colors before partaking in this challenge. She couldn't believe she got herself into this mess, just her luck, she supposed. She swatted at the air, shooing away the mosquitoes that seemed intent on snacking her. She knew her best chance at getting a bell was to find one. She was just slightly above average when it came to sports, but only because she was a bit of a tomboy in her youth. Her interests waned post-puberty as her independent nature and how easily she came to odds with most people led her into developing a lone wolf persona. "Ugh, these are new shoes too. It's going to take forever to get the smell out." "What's wrong, A-class? I thought you dealt with stuff like this before." "I'm used to playing volleyball, basketball, and stuff like that, not trekking through the walls and having to avoid bear excrement," the voice whined, drawing in Gwen's attention as she weaved between some trees to spot 2 of her fellow contestants. "Doesn't matter, you're going to have to get used to it," he said as he looked around as he startled Gwen when his eyes locked onto her. "Hey," he waved, "we're forming an alliance. You know, since half of us will be grouped into a team. We can help you get a bell if you want. Don't worry, we already have some, so we're not trying to trick you," Naruto finished his statement holding up a silver bell. "No thanks, I'm fine on my own," Gwen rebuffed Naruto's offer, to which the blonde shrugged his shoulders. "Suit yourself." Courtney walked over to him. "See," she said with an all-knowing glance, "it's a waste of time. Everyone is going for that prize money. Eventually all of us will be opponents in the end, so no one is going to trust us." "Well, you ended up forming an alliance with me, so isn't that opposite of what you're saying now?" Speaking up, Naruto brought notice to the fact that Courtney formed an alliance with him despite how that conflicted with what she was saying now. "Well, like you pointed out, this competition just started, so no reasons to make enemies right away. Let's just go on to the next person then, Naruto said as he took out a kunai and flung it into the branch of a random tree, causing the branch to vibrate and a few tree leaves to fall, revealing a bell. You never know, we might become allies in the future. So at least give it some thought, he said as he and Courtney continued on, leaving Gwen behind to retrieve the bell that was high up in the tree. Gwen couldn't help but be skeptical of Naruto's offer, as what that Courtney girl said was true. Eventually it was going to come down to two people, and a friend today would be an opponent tomorrow, and she couldn't afford to make friends. She couldn't afford to be distracted as her family really needed that money. 17 hours flat. What is with people and trying to punch me? Marcus asked as he leaped over a small ravine, avoided another attack from the Eva girl. Get back here, coward. Fight me like a man, she roared as she hopped on a log and chased after the chaotic cheesecake fanatic. Good lord, that teenager's muscles are bigger than mine, Marcus thought to himself as he continued fleeing like a frightened chicken, leading his attacker into a trap. He responded by doing a front flip and accidentally kneed the Cody kid in the chin, landing on the ground and coming to a stop in a roll as a tree branch caught onto his pants and ended up yanking off a few of his bells. Oh well, screw it, he decided that the teen's attempt allowed this small reward. I got you now. Prepare to taste the pain. Apparently the rather butch girl didn't take notice of the bells. Today is not my day. 15 hours, 32 minutes, 24 seconds. Bridget and Trent returned to the campsite and didn't see anyone else, which left them to wonder if they were the first ones done, not including Izzy. Found a bell, huh? The surfer girl asked, taking a seat on the log. Yeah, he answered her, taking a seat on the opposite log. This was the first time the two of them talked and they weren't really sure what to say. So, where did you find yours? Found it in a cave. A cave? Trent asked with a raised eyebrow. A bear-infested cave. I don't want to talk about it, she said as her head dipped slightly and a pensive look formed on her face. You? A river, quite simply, an alligator-infested one, and I know that sounds wrong in like 6 different ways. But that's the closet I can come up with an identity. What I just saw, he answered her, pointing to his pants leg that was half shredded by some sort of animal. Yeah, you're telling me, she said, lifting up her blue hoodie and revealed the white shirt underneath was partially shredded. I don't know about you, but I'm going to file a complaint. Stuff like this is way too dangerous for an average person to do. Yeah, no kidding. So, do you like guitars? I'm more of a drummer sort of girl. Oh. By the time the afternoon came around, the campers were tired, hungry, and just plain out feelings various levels of annoyance. During the day more than half of them simply wandered around aimlessly until some of them managed to come across a bell by dumb luck. With the exception of Izzy, Naruto, Courtney, Trent, Bridget, Cody, Harold, Heather, Noah, Leshawana, DJ, Jeff, Harold, Duncan, and Eva, everyone else was still out there trying to retrieve a bell as there was only a few hours left. Everyone who had won the bell test challenge so far had gathered in the mess hall. They were tired, sore, and not to mention just plain hungry. Well, it can't get any worse than this, right? Courtney asked as she moved around the bowl of something Chef had fixed with her fork. Quite honestly, the stuff didn't look that appetizing and the A-lister wished she had thought to bring food with her. Looking up, she noticed Naruto giving her a peculiar look, one that she wasn't quite used to. Oh, if she only knew that Naruto was on the brink of indecision whether to dope slap her or not. You never jinx the situation with suggesting things like that. Between Mr. Shepington and Chris, I wouldn't be so sure, Naruto said as he sent a pointed glance outside and in the general direction of the forest. At that moment the fat boy Owen and the very skinny Ezekiel walked in. Naruto let out a groan, meaning there were still 6 more contestants they would have to wait on until it was all over. Mind if I take a seat? Trent asked as he walked over, to which Naruto replied with an uncaring shrug. Hello, my name is Trent and I was hoping to talk to you too about this idea Bridget and I came up with. It involves Mr. Shepington, right? I'll hear your idea about before I give a definite yes or no. Businessmen like him are shrewd, and if they don't get you back they know people who can, so be sure this is the right choice, he said as his attention was drew to the crowd at a table where the newcomers sat. Apparently one of them was mentioning the only reason he was here because his parents wanted him to interact with other kids his age. Probably shouldn't have went with the homeschooling option to the point where sending him to an island for a game show was the choice for interactions. We should be helping the girls though. They aren't as strong as guys are. As soon as the words left Ezekiel's mouth, the atmosphere grew tense. Care to explain what you mean by that? Eva demanded with a tightening of her fists and the narrowing of her eyes. Well, guys are better at physical challenges than girls are. Ezekiel clarified again without seeing the danger he was putting himself in. Next thing anyone knew, the boy was hurled into a wall. Naruto face palmed and shook his head. Confession cam. Sheesh, I thought women weren't aggressive. Whoever conducted that study sure didn't include Eva into their calculations, eh? Ezekiel asked as he held a Kleenex to his bloody nose. If I have to listen to that homeschooled prairie boy's sexist remarks one more time, I think I may kill him, Eva snarled as he punched her fist into her other palm. I may not agree with Eva's tactics with handling Ezekiel, but I think he's asking for it, Bridget readily agreed. The normally docile girl was also fuming. I can already see we're all going to have a grand old time, Naruto remarked sarcastically and began scratching his ear. Homeschool pretty much F# ed up. Hey, I'm allowed to say foo number 5 on camera, right? Naruto asked as he looked off screen. Confession came over. One by one the rest of the campers had all trudged in, covered in dirt and gods know what, with bruises, heavy breathing, and pretty much the look of someone who had a shitty day had. I'm just waking up. I have a rumble in my belly. I am R. Kelly. Marcus sung as he moonwalked over to the campfire where the contestants and an impatient Chris were waiting. What the hell, sir? He quickly corrected himself, remembering who he was talking to. I thought you would have been here 15 minutes ago, seeing as it was the time you set. I got lost, he said as he pulled out the map. Yeah, the upside-down map, Chris lowly gripped as he couldn't believe the man's actions. Marcus glanced down at the map, then looked up with a raised eyebrow. Learn to relax and enjoy life for what it is, Christopher. He turned his focus back to the situation at end. Now it's time to congratulate the two people who managed to get the silver bells. Mr. Uzumaki and... He paused, realizing he hadn't dedicated this camper's memory to mind. And, what was your name, miss? Heather, she answered him as the dark-skinned man nodded. Ah yes, Heather. Wait. Naruto started, as the whole exchange was suspicious. How the hell did she get a silver bell? He demanded, surprised that the girl would have been capable of getting it. She looked fit, and could possibly be athletic, but her attitude and way she carried herself was of someone who only did exercise to maintain their figure instead of someone who exercised for the purpose of speed, strength, or pursuing a sports career. Well, he trailed off as he started to thinking about the events of earlier that day. Marcus was casually strolling through the forest when he ran into the contestant. So, you still have a silver bell, right? Heather started, sizing the man up as she prepared to try to sweet-talk him before diving into a nefarious scheme. Why yes, I do, miss. He couldn't help but wonder what trick this one was going to pull off. You don't mind if I have one, right? She asked, pouting her lips and slightly sticking out her chest to show some cleavage. Heather was used to using her looks to get what she wanted if she was incapable of bossing the person. It worked quite well on those who were dimmed and weak-willed. Okay, he shrugged as he tossed her the bell and went on his way. It was a cute attempt and he decided to reward her for her trouble. From what he saw, this girl had the makings of your typical reality show antagonist, and every show needed that villain character. It was what added the spice. Wait, what? Heather dumbly reacted as she was dumbfounded. She did not expect it to work that quickly or easily. Oh well, not like she was going to complain. And that's what happened. Marcus finished as he noticed a mixture of shock, confused, and angry looks the campers were sending him. What? I am a reasonable man. If any of you would have tried diplomacy instead of attacking me, I might have been as reasonable. He explained as some of them further quietly griped. Hey boss man, you can handle this, right? I'm late for my thing, Chris said as Marcus rolled his eyes. I thought you lived for the suffering of others, Christopher. At least that's what my associates from your last show told me. Yeah well. I can watch everything from the monitors in my trailer. Yeah well no. You're the main host of this show, not to mention I am paying you to be here and I want my money's worth. Chris made the wise decision not to correct the man on exactly how he received his payments. Now we get down to the names. What have you decided? Marcus turned back to the campers who were on edge. One of them would be going home soon. Rising Dragons. Naruto tossed out there as Marcus nodded. Celestial Foxes it is, Quincy countered with a nod as Naruto's face dropped. Really? Maybe something a little less cliché? He asked with a sigh. What? You always go with foxes, he countered. In fact, you even have a pet fox if I recall. Exactly, I always do, so some little variety would be nice. Yeah, well, if you're going to be the team leader, then we need information about you to stay consistent, and those who have seen the film already knows your character has a connection with foxes. He then turned to the other team. Your name will be the Howling Wolves. Those were much better names than the one Chris picked. Who wants to cheer for Gophers or Base? Now it's time to pick your teams, he said as he instructed all the other campers to get up as Naruto and Heather were seated on two logs, opposite from each other. Naruto already had in mind a couple of the campers he wanted to work with. Courtney, he picked as his first obvious choice as she was bright, had counselor training, and the one he already got along with fairly well. Courtney took her seat beside Naruto and gave him a confident nod. Lindsay was Heather's first choice as the blonde let out a cheer and joined the Asian Canadian. Gwen, he decided, which seemed to shock the goth girl slightly. She too joined Naruto's side but sat far away from him and Courtney. Justin, the pretty boy, flexed his muscles, causing the majority of the girls to swoon over him as he took his seat by Heather. I just realized something. If we have a cohesive team where everyone liked each other, that would be way too boring. Chris spoke up, though it was really an excuse to get this ceremony over as quick as possible so he could get his massage. Beth, Cody, Sadie, Noah, Tyler, Owen, and Trent, you joined the Howling Wolves. Everyone else, the Celestial Foxes. Of course, there was a bunch of protests at this, especially from the team captains who found some of the people they were forced to be with a team on, not all that favorable, only for Chris to remind them that he was one of the hosts and what he said go, unless he was vetoed by Mr. Shepington. Wait, we forgot we're supposed to banish someone? Marcus quickly reminded everyone over the throes of the argument. Who do you all think should leave? He asked, getting this part out of the way. The actual method of voting could start once they began their first true challenge. Ezekiel, the resounding echo of the female contestants, shined through as one. The only time it would ever happen throughout this whole event. But what did I do? All I did was suggesting that the girls needed help because they aren't as strong as guys. Isn't that a fact of life? If it wasn't for Marcus stepping in, the boy would have been tackled and beaten ruinously by Eva. Unfortunately, kid, it looks like you were raised with a bit of misogynist point of view. You don't seem to be a bad kid, but this show has just kicked off and we can't risk our ratings off the bat with risque choices. By that we mean we don't need those rabid and man-hating feminists that make feminists in general look bad making this huge protests and all, Marcus explained as he led Zeke to the dock until they were out of earshot. So you might no longer be an official contestant, but how about you help me on a few projects? You'll learn some things and, who knows, maybe you might come around to a new way of thinking. Confession cam. While looking smug, Heather spoke into the camera. To all those out there, I would just like to say that I'm gonna win this competition and no one is going to get in my way. All I know is if that Marcus sap is as easy to sway as he was in the first challenge, then this is going to be a piece of cake. Next we cut to Naruto, who was playing with a paddle ball. Something tells me that someone will need therapy after this. After that we cut to Gwen. First day and I'm already becoming uneasy about the entire thing, she admitted, then sighed. But I can't give up. I have my reasons for coming here and I can't give up. And now we have our next challenge. Chris said as most of the campers uneasily looked over the edge of the cliff they were on. The distance from their sight to the water was a huge drop and unsettled a few of them. Down below in the clear blue water was a large, white half circle that casually floated near the base of the cliff along with another smaller white circle some distance from it. The whole thing just reeked of danger, especially considering there could have been rocks and who knows what else down there. 3 times as dangerous as yesterday's challenge with 3 times the rewards, Chris's tone was filled with amusement. You better have tested this out thoroughly. Marcus whispered to him. Last thing they needed was lawsuits. At least there was a medic on standby to take care of any injuries. He couldn't believe Chris lacked the foresight to bring a medical team on standby for such a dangerous stunt. Piece of cake, the surfer girl Bridget calmly stated as she was used to things like this. Even now she had her surfboard in hand for some reason. Though all things considering, surfers wouldn't have a fear for heights or water considering their hobby. Chris continued, if you look down, you will see 2 target areas. The wider area represents the part of the lake that we have stocked with ravenous. Here, he stopped and chuckled, then continued, people eating sharks. They haven't been fed for the past 2 days, so unless you completely miss the marker or just fail at life you should be okay. Considering the unique body shapes, Chris glanced at Owen. Of some of you the safety zone is generously large. So just fall into the target area and you will be fine. Excuse me? Lashana asked him as her voice was filled with not only fear, but indecision. You must be joking. Ravenous sharks. This has to be illegal or something. It's in your contract. Marcus said as he reached behind himself and pulled out the contract which Naruto was sure was going to be a once-a-day thing. You can leave now, but those who leave will be forfeiting your chance to win. Could you deal with being known all over the world as the person who chickened out from a simple dive into the ocean? I assure you. Miss Cheeseman, these stunts were tested out. He began to thinking back to earlier that day where Chef and several interns were in swimwear and standing on top of the 1,000-foot drop. We need to test the stunts first. You guys know that and it's what you signed up for. You guys don't pay us enough for this said a rather large intern with the goatee, red baseball cap turned backwards, red and tan jacket, and matching shorts. Next thing he knew he was flying over the cliff. A few moments later said intern was floating face down in the water. Well, that seems safe enough. Chef concluded with a shrug before Marcus kicked him over the edge to give him a taste of his own medicine. At the end of the story the contestants were reasonably disturbed. For each member of your team that jumps and actually survives, there will be a crate of supplies waiting below. Inside each crate are supplies that you'll need for the second part of the challenge, building a hot tub. The team with the best one gets to have a wicked hot tub party tonight. The losers will be sending someone home. Let's see. Celestial Foxes. You're up first. Bridget had wandered over to the edge of the cliff, and was staring down towards the water. Oh. Wow. She sounded less sure of herself, now. This drop distance was about 2 to 3 times than the largest cliff she had ever dove over. So, who wants to go first? Hesitant looks were shared among the groups. There were no answers, so Eva repeated the question. So. Who's up? I guess as team leader I should go first, Naruto said as he made the first step forward. He then took a few steps back, then charged forward and jumped over the side, falling into a cannonball and landed inside the safety zone. His head popped up from the water as he shivered and let out a few coughs. Damn water. When the question was repeated of who would go next, Bridget reluctantly volunteered herself. Fine. I'll go. It's no big deal. Just an insane cliff dive into a circle of angry sharks. She said, then without another word performed a perfect swan dive right into the center of the safe zone. Way to go, amazing dive. More graceful than I did. Naruto congratulated the surfer girl as he floated by on his back. Oh, thanks, Bridget said, flashing her fellow blonde a kind smile. This sort of thing doesn't even seem to be a big deal for you, huh? Yeah, well, since I do my own stunts I have to do a lot of training and doing dangerous things like this. Elsewhere, above the cliff some of the campers were being pumped up as 2 successful jumps pumped up their confidence. Tyler was ecstatic. She did it. Yeah. I'm next. He ran back towards the group, turned around, and ran towards the cliff. Shouting, "Cowabunga," he jumped into the water, feet first. Hey man, watch. Naruto's shout of a warning was too late as the boy had landed too close to the buoy and hit his foot on it. Somehow the boy remained conscious as he floated above the water. He was definitely going to need a medic after this. The next thing we heard was a loud clang. I ran towards the edge, then looked down to see he jumped right on a buoy. Yikes, I said quietly. That must have hurt. After that, Jeff jumped with a woohoo-hoo-hoo, then Izzy with a crazed laugh as she did something akin to a belly flop, look out below, and then Duncan jumped, on his way down clutching his hands over his stomach, while not making a sound. Every soon took the plunge except for DJ and Courtney. No way, man. I'm not jumping, DJ said as he moved away from the edge. Scared of heights? Chris asked, with that usual smug grin of his. Yeah, ever since I was a kid, the Jamaican admitted. That's okay, big guy. Unfortunately, that also makes you a chicken. So, you'll have to wear this for the rest of the day, Chris informed him as he placed a chicken hat on top of DJ. Aw man, for real, he whined. That means the chicken down is that way? Chris gestured to the escalator behind him. Ashamed, DJ with his head down walked over to the escalator and took it down. And then finally it was Courtney's turn. Excuse me, Chris? I do have this condition I haven't mentioned. And the condition is? Chris skeptically asked. A condition where I'm not capable of jumping off cliffs. I'd rather be humiliated than take an insane cliff dive into a huge area filled with sharks, she replied, like most reasonable people do. Well, you can skip the challenge. But if you back out, you'll be the second one who chickened out and contribute to the loss of your team's score, and then they'll hate you. It's a calculated risk. I learned enough of the team and I don't think any of them will take the jump, especially one who's afraid of water, she calculatedly and snootily replied. Your choice, which means you'll have to wear this chicken hat for the rest of the day. He placed the chicken on her head, much to her annoyance. You must be kidding, she asked without a hint of amusement in her voice. Chris smiled at her when doing his chicken act at her for a laugh. Balk. 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 The chicken path is that way. Letting out a growl, Courtney had no choice but to join DJ down the escalator. The boat where all the jumpers boarded soon took off to make way for the other team. One by one they all made their plunges, all with their little style and flair. Justin missing his jump and somehow making the sharks fall in love with him and carry him to the shore. Katie and Sadie jumped together and even the team leader Heather being tossed overside by tough girl Eva. The only person on the other team who didn't jump was Beth, but considering Justin landed outside of the safety zone it just managed to even things out. Once everyone got on the boat, everyone shrouded their forms with the blankets that were on the boat. Chris came into sight from the cliff, yelling into the microphone that the ravenous wolves won. And now we get down to the matter of the elimination, Marcus began once everyone was back on land. Once a week we're going to have a major challenge that will either be concluded that day or stretch on for a few days. After every major challenge there will be a vote held for the losing team of that challenge, with those teammates voting off who they think failed them. Now as of today you are all doing a 3-point major challenge. Those of you who didn't jump earned 1 strike. You can earn a strike by either refusing to do the challenge, not helping your teammates, or just plain screwing up. You get 3 strikes and you are flat out eliminated. Something we cooked up just so some of you are kept around by your friends because they like you or something of that nature. And now I'll let Chris inform you guys on the second part of your challenge, he said as he stepped back and Chris took center stage. Once again, congratulations, Ravenous Wolves, on your victory of the first part of today's game. Too bad, Celestial Foxes, but better luck next time. Now, here are the crates of supplies, and, Ravenous Wolves, as promised, here are your wagons. He smiled as some of the crew brought forth 4 crates over to the other team. The other team merrily took off with their wagonette supplies, singing 99 beer bottles on the wall, while the Celestial Foxes were left far behind the over team. Most of them were struggling, Duncan kicking his box a few feet forward with a foot and Courtney pushing hers forward with her palm. The other team started to disappear from sight, leaving behind an angry and annoyed team. Need some help? Naruto asked Bridget as he was pushing his crate through the sand with rather ease as he was using his back. He came stopped at her side, noticing she was having a particular difficult time. Would you? I'm afraid I'm not built for strength, balance is sort of my thing, she said as she watched with other amazement as the blonde crouched down, using his knees to lift up the crate and placed it on top of hers. Flashing her a foxy smile, he suggested they push their crates together as it would be easier. Though unknown to them, they were currently being watched by Courtney, who felt a surge of jealousy rush through her. Why should I care? I mean, we're just teammates, alliance mates who are helping each other. He can flirt with the surfer chick all he wants as long as it doesn't screw up my chances of winning. She tried to reason with herself as her fingers dug into the crate until she ended up getting a splinter. Ow, she cried out. I think I just got a splinter. Shut up, and pick up your crate. Eva snarled as picked it up and slammed it back on the ground, for some unknown reason. Chicken. Courtney had a rebuttal. Hey. I'm the only one with CIT camping experience here. You need me. But it sounded less like a rebuttal, and more like an appeal. Eva and DJ shared a skeptical look. We don't have time for arguing, guys. Come on now. Naruto butted in to avoid any arguments. We all agreed to be here, so we might as well make the best of it. I don't know about you, but standing around and arguing is wasting time. Besides, where some of us have our weaknesses, our strengths shine elsewhere. As Naruto finished this statement, Courtney flashed him a grateful look. Look, why don't we do this? Each of us pair in threes and carry a box. We only have 5 boxes, so that leaves half of us to go ahead and get started on it, the hot tube, while the others go and retrieve the rest of the material. The group spoke among themselves for a moment before deciding that Naruto's suggestion was a pretty good one. So breaking up into threes consisting of Naruto, Bridget, Courtney along with DJ, Izzy, Lashana in another group with the others making the last group, they made their way to their destination. Finally, Harold said, setting his and the others' box on the ground. Hey, what's up, guys? Trent asked. Despite that he was on the other team, he greeted them with a friendly smile and wave. Aight, so who's headin' back for the box? Lashana asked. The other team was on their way of fixing the hot tube. The other team was already beginning, and they felt they were as good as done considering most of them weren't known for their construction ability. I'm going back for the rest of the boxes. If the rest of you are concerned about being left behind due to a lack of workers, you can stay here and try to come up with how we're supposed to start this whole thing. Without waiting for objections or feedback, Naruto continued his way back to the beach. Okay, look, guys. We have a hot tub to complete, and we need a project manager. Since I've actually been a CIT before, I'm electing myself. Any objections? Since their apparent leader had went up and left, Courtney figured she was the best to take his place. So where do we begin, chicken girl? Duncan taunted the girl, who went about ignoring him. The group went about opening their crates and going over the material at hand. Not a single one of them had nails, meaning they had to wait while they constructed the hot tube filter and steps. Meanwhile, Naruto was casually pushing the 2 stacked boxes along the sandy flooring of the beach, leaving behind massive drag marks. Do you need some help? He heard, resulting in him looking up and surprised to see Gwen standing a few feet away from him. What are you doing here? He asked, as he was sincerely surprised by her presence considering their last encounter. I'm not that well versed in construction, and I thought it was a bit unfair that you were the only one that went back for the boxes, considering your idea was the reason we got back to camp as fast as we did. If Gwen were to being honest to herself, it was because she thought the blonde could help her. He really seemed to be doing pretty well. He was something of a movie star, so he wasn't hard up on money. That, and it would be nice to have someone who would have her back in this place, as from what she had seen so far, not too many of her team members were going to be helpful in a challenge that were based around physical labor or camping, considering their island was a setting and all. Those with practical knowledge about forest and camping were going to have that needed edge. Naruto shrugged and moved over. Why not? He said as Gwen joined him as they continued pushing the box towards the campsite. Chris stood in between the 2 hot tubs and walked over to the Ravenous Wolves' hot tub first. He looked at it for a minute, then smiled, and said, "This is an awesome hot tub." The Ravenous Wolves, of course, were rather thrilled. Meanwhile, Marcus was examining the Fox's hot tub. Tape? Really? Fail, he said as he kicked the badly constructed hot tub as it fell to pieces. Marcus joined Chris as they turned to the camera. Well, I think we have a winner here. The Ravenous Wolves. The team collectively cheered, and Chris said, "Wolves, that's another round in favor." Enjoy your hot tub tonight as the third part of your challenge begins tomorrow and you'll definitely need a soak afterwards. Arrive down at the mess hall at 7 tonight to receive information on the last challenge. Any other ideas, brilliant leader? Duncan snidely remarked. While everyone on the Foxes found themselves disappointed with the loss, he was the first to vocalize the fact that they were on a losing streak. Hey, come on man, it was a good idea. I mean, without nails we were doomed to fail anyway, DJ argued in Naruto's defense. The peaceful Jamaican hated arguments and fighting. Especially when the people fighting were a part of his team. No one asked you, chicken boy. Duncan snapped, bringing up the fact DJ played a part in the team's losing streak. Hey man, lighten up. It's just a game, Jeff tried to ease tensions, placing a hand on Duncan's shoulder only for the delinquent to snatch away. Hands off, pretty boy. If you feel that way, we will not keeping you here. Because if you're just going to attack members of this team, then we'll vote you off and save ourselves the headache. Naruto was not in the mood for some kid's shit. Quite frankly, after the problems he had seen and the turmoil some of his friends had gone through over the years, his sympathy for the problems of a normal person was rather low. Whatever, I'm out of here. Naruto shook his head and sighed. He was soon brought out his thoughts when the tense CIT spoke up. Forget the jerk. If he can't be a team player, then we don't need him, she said as she smoothed out her white shirt and gray sweater vest. Her olive color pants were stained slightly from moving the crates and her chestnut brown hair was slightly parted. With the mood killer gone, why don't we all sit back and get to know each other, the laid back and friendly Jeff suggested. Not a bad idea. Maybe we can all get an estimate of useful future skills, Naruto added. I guess I can go first, he decided as he began gathering the wreckage of the hot tub. He paused and thought about just what he should reveal. As you all know, my name is Naruto. My hobbies are practicing martial arts, cooking, traveling, camping, and helping people. I am also a movie star and have been acting for a few years. Anyone want to go next? I'll go, of course, Courtney bolstered, cutting off the others before they could volunteer. I'm Courtney, of course you all know that, and I excel in violin, leadership, singing, playing the guitar, ballet. She began listing off as several of her hobbies, which seemed to drag on for quite a while. I also have a 4.3. Yeah, wrap it up. We don't have all day to hear y'all's life story, Lashana cut in, which only served to annoy Courtney. The CIT was about to make a remark when Naruto jumped in. Let's just keep things short for right now. We have plenty of time in between the challenges to bond. Then after the introductions we can focus on figuring out what our future challenges are. He then glanced between all the team members. After a round of bonding time, the Foxes arrived to the main lodge where the upbeat Gophers seemed to be enjoying themselves. There seemed to be speakers of some sort set up in the room. Everyone had gotten their food and sat at the table. With things just kicking off, there wasn't much to talk about. It's going to be a survival challenge, Naruto began, finally letting his teammates in on the thoughts of the next challenge. First was to decide the standing, the second was to see how far we were willing to go, and the last one is going to test our functionality as a team. How do you figure that? Bridget asked as she looked down at her bowl of soup. As an avid animal lover, she was not up for eating whatever the mystery meat stuff chef was serving. Survival just seems to fit in what's been happening so far. We haven't gotten a challenge to test us as a team, and it seems like about time they'll do so, he added with a shrug. Suddenly the lights of the cafeteria dimmed as Mr. Shepington walked out from behind the curtains that covered the kitchen entryway. As you are all aware, there is one more part to this challenge. Mr. Shepington turned to the camera. Unfortunately, my co-host can't join us today as he is being a lazy bastard who is most likely getting a happy ending from a rough Asian trick named Jim Lee. Mr. Shepington turned back to the contestants. The final part of this is going to be a survival challenge. Paintball, and not your usual game. By that I mean one person is going to hunt you down with a paintball gun. The person in question will be using 2 different colors. Being shot with blue mean you have to freeze for 5 seconds, and the green ball means you're eliminated. The person can't hit you with the green unless you're hit with a blue one first, and the only way to win is to shoot him a red bullet. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get a hold of paint guns and balls until at least 2 contestants of opposite teams are left. That is if you manage to surprise. Hit the music, chef. Mr. Shepington ordered as the lights cut off completely. Several of the contestants let out a rather high-pitched, ear-piercing scream as several contestants clung to the person closest to them. Then, blaring from the speakers was a very indistinct and creepy music. What followed was a very unnerving steady tapping sound. Tap, 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 tap. Katie and Sadie grabbed each other and began whimpering. Several more of the campers like Beth, Cody, and Trent looked unnerved. Even Lashana and Duncan were repressing the urge to shiver as that pulse-pounding tap, tap, tap was so damn unnerving. Finally stepping out from behind the curtains was a black armored thing of some sort. Meet Hunter X. Tomorrow he will be your end. Behind the mint teal mask was huge pupilless black eyes and a mouth that looks inexpertly sewn shut. Care to say anything, X? He asked as the armored thing let out a horrific shriek resulting in one camper who will be unnamed pissing himself. Upon seeing their expressions couldn't help but chortled. The bastard. Now the winner of the challenge gets the item their team needs to complete the hot tub. Either a kick-ass mini fridge and hot tub accessories or the nails and other items. With that said, I hope you all have pleasant dreams, Mr. Shepington said as Hunter X was then waved away. That sound of tap, 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 tap filled the mess hall as Hunter X slowly left, possibly feeling the nightmares of several of the campers. Confession cam. Bring it, cause Izzy is ready to unleash the tiger, the Orangette said as she unleashed a feral growl. What's there to be scared of? Bridget reasoned with a nervous chuckle. Just some guy in a suit. I mean, if they're trying to scare us, then they'll have to a better job then. A hand was placed on Bridget's shoulder, causing her to let out a shriek and shoot the hell out of there, leaving only a rather confused Cody behind. I am not surprised Mr. Shepington is pulling off something like this, Naruto said with a casual shrug. Why am I not scared, you're all wondering? Try waking up to that music and seeing something akin to Hunter X in your room, and then you can see where I'm coming from. Though I can say at the end of the day, repeated ambushes can teach a person the meaning of bladder control. Tap, 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 tap. Hunter X entered the confession cam and then turned its paintball gun at the camera, obviously cueing that it was ready for tomorrow's challenge. Chapter end.
Tired of watching censored fanfics? Would you like to watch some very naughty, filled with the lemons fanfics without any censorship? I'm happy to announce that I opened Patreon page for you guys, where you could watch Naruto/Deku 18+ stories without any censoring. Not only that, you can also see the NSFW images of characters of the fics on my Patreon, which I make by myself. So buy your preferred tier and join our community now. Link is in the description.